So a few years back, I wrote a song called "Here Comes Goodbye" that ended up being recorded and by a band called Rascal Flatts. Have you guys ever heard of Rascal Flatts, a country band? And so the song, they released it to radio. It ended up going to #1, and it was a #1 song back in 2009, I think. And what was really cool about it was because I'd written this #1 song, suddenly they started having me write a lot of country music. Now, anyone who knows anything about me knows that I'm about as country as not country. So I'm showing up to like writing sessions to write country music, and these guys are getting out of their Ford F-950s. With their cowboy boots and their all denim and cowboy hats and giant belt buckles. This is how they write songs. I don't even know how they bale hay. So they show up to write songs and they're legit. And I learned so much about songwriting from these guys because Nashville is one of the places where the best songwriters go for when you think about what good songwriting really is, it's Nashville. And so I just learned a ton from these guys. But I was a little bit frustrated because, on every day that I wasn't on the road, I was in, some place, some studio or writer's room writing country music. And like I said, I'm just not country. And so I was a little frustrated that I wasn't writing songs for me and my albums and songs talking about my relationship with Jesus. And so I wrote a song that Blake Shelton recorded called "Do It in the Woods." And I've literally never been to the woods. So I don't even know what the song that I wrote is about. So I'm driving home from one of these writing sessions. I'm a little frustrated, feeling like I have not really had the chance to express what God was doing in my life at the time. And as I pull off on I-24 at my exit, rush hour traffic, I see this homeless guy walking from car to car asking for money. So I look down at my wallet, and I didn't have any cash on me because, #1, I am a Christian artist. And #2, I don't really carry cash with me. I use my debit card for everything. And I know enough about Dave Ramsey to know that giving a homeless man your debit card is not financial peace. And so I kind of did the awkward wave and hoped that he didn't start washing my windows kind of thing. And so light turns green, I drive off, and I'm in rush hour traffic. And I just begin to feel like I had missed a chance to show someone the love of God. And I start having this conversation with God. I felt like God was kind of subconsciously saying, you probably should have helped that dude. And I was like, well, God, if you would like to give me bundles of cash, I would love to give that guy $5, And then I start the argument. Does anybody else ever argue with God where I don't know why I do it, but he always wins. But I'm arguing with God going well, there's really nothing I could do. And then he gives me the list of 37 things I could have done. And so I finally turn my car back around and I go back to try to find this guy. Can't find him. He's gone by the time I get back. It's probably been 35, 40 minutes at this point. Rush hour traffic in Nashville is awful. And so I get back and I just feel this sort of intense sort of weight that I had missed a chance to show someone the love of God. I don't know why on that day it hit me. But as I'm driving home, I pulled out my phone and a little notepad app, and I just began jotting down thoughts. And typically when I write songs, you write music and lyrics together. That's how I've always kind of done it. But in this case, I just jotted down a bunch of thoughts as I was driving in rush hour traffic home, just jotting down things that were coming to my head. I didn't really realize it was a lyric until later. And for those of you that are kind of judging me right now, you should know that in Nashville, if you're a professional songwriter, you can write songs while you drive. So stop judging me. Just stop it. So I then go home and, life happens and I kind of forget about this thing that had happened. So several months later, I'm finally getting to write for my album. And I always kind of keep a list of just a bunch of jotted notes that I have that I sometimes will turn into songs, or it's a line that hits me or something like that. And so I was going through and I found, and it's just this entire thing that I'd written on the way home from this experience with this homeless guy. And so I showed it to my wife and I said, hey, what do you think about this? And she said, she read it. She had a little tear in her eyes. She said, you need to turn this into a song. And because I'm a good husband, I did what my wife told me to do. And so I put music to this sort of lyric. And as best I can remember, I don't think I changed a word from this sort of download that I got on the way away from this experience. And what's interesting, I think about it, is because most of the time when we write songs as songwriters, we like to talk about how great we're doing, and how God is doing these wonderful things. And I think that in this case, the song is about how I failed, but God is great. Amen? So this is a song called Only You Can Save.